Hello, everybody. I'm going to show you what I posted on my Facebook this morning. Today's my son's birthday. He's 39, and so I posted some pictures and a photo album. I created an album and then did a little write up. I'm going to read it, short write up to you, and it's just so the people on Facebook can see this. Of course, my if you go to Facebook, it's under Buddy Wayne Webb and so like I said, there's a photo album. Happy birthday, happy 39th birthday, Josh. And instead of just telling the story, I'll just read it real quick because I already wrote it. And my son was born on March 1st of 1981 during my senior year. His mom, Tami Callaway, and I separated about a year later. She was the primary custodial parent, but I would get him every other weekend, summertime and holidays. When he was a sophomore, I drove to Gladewater, Texas, and moved him to my home in Hobbs, New Mexico. Josh later married Joelene, and they currently live in Amarillo with their two daughters, Kylie and Kaydance. That's the last time I saw them was at my dad's funeral in March 2017, and I haven't spoken with them since. This estrangement is solely due to the crimes that have been committed against me because it wasn't always this way. He's the only person in my family that has admitted to knowing something was going on here at my home, and I'm not sure he planned on anybody finding that out. I've placed print screens of our conversation in this photo album. The rest of my family has adamantly denied knowing anything about the sick and heinous crimes that have been committed against me while at the same time refusing to offer even the slightest help. I've been disabled, defenseless, while living under the threat of death without my family standing behind me, and that has never been explained. I've long believed that once the truth comes out and the crimes are stopped, then my family can be reunited, but I've never been able to get past the extreme public corruption that has allowed these killers to rig homes across the nation so they can maim, mutilate, and murder unsuspecting homeowners. That is when they're not murdering little girls who won't prostitute at underground oil show parties. I have reason to believe this crime gang is connected with multiple murders, and the evidence is clear they came to my home to murder me. Josh told me that he was afraid he was going to get a call and find out they'd killed me. His solution was for me to run and hide for the rest of my life, but that's the last thing I would do, and that's not how I raised him either. When criminals are loading guns and coming to your home, then it's time to stand up, because if they'll murder me in my home, then there's nothing to stop them from going to his home or your home. Nobody is safe inside our homes anymore if we allow them to break into our homes and kill anybody they want. The last time that Josh was at my home was just a couple of weeks before the murder attempt. He came here with his family for a late Christmas after I'd separated from the ex-wife. His stuff wasn't even moved out yet. I came home from work to see him parked in front of my home. He's wearing a holster and a gun, which I thought was odd. He came here a day early without calling and told me that my oldest daughter, Jennifer, had called him because she was worried. My guess is that she found out they were going to kill me. I haven't talked to her in a few years either. During this visit, his younger brother, Preston Corgle, comes over. He lived here in Midland at the time. In one conversation while they're here, Josh tells me, "Dad, it just doesn't make sense that somebody is going underground somewhere and then coming back over here by a tunnel." He then looks at Preston and giggles like they had a secret. I know my son, and I'm sure that him and his brother know something about my home being rigged. I even wondered if Preston was here when I was shot 2 weeks later, which might explain why Josh has turned his back on me. He also told me during this visit that when my mom had died the month before, with still unanswered questions, him and Joelene heard Grandpa talking to some female in his room most of the night. Okay, and the only other female in the house was my ex-wife, and my guess is that she drugged me that night. She had tried to talk me into taking a pill to help me sleep, and I kept telling her no. This was when I was seeing the weird round bruises on tops of my thighs, which I would later find out were injection site bruises. She was a RN and carried needles in her purse. She had planned to go and stay at my mom and dad's house that day, but I didn't want her to go. I made a video of that called My Mom's Death. The next morning, Josh knocks on my door with tears in his eyes. He told me that his grandpa, Don Callaway, had died in Amarillo. They had to leave, of course. The timing of that was really strange. And his grandma, Ann Callaway, later married my dad without inviting me to the wedding. Interestingly, and this is not in the story, his granddad, Ann and Don Callaway, built that home I lived in Hobbs, New Mexico, and they also built the one next door, which they used to live in before I moved there. And I wondered if that home was rigged, and I wonder if they knew something about it. anyways, when I saw Josh at Dad's funeral, he made a comment about me not knowing my grandchildren, and I said the last time I saw you, you were telling me that you were going to get that we were going to get down to the bottom of this, and 2 weeks later I was shot and left for dead. I haven't seen you since. He just frowned, as he knew I was right. Someday my grandkids are going to grow up, and if they look, the truth is posted in 700 fact-filled videos. They've had to live with the shame of lies being told about their granddad, who clearly isn't crazy, but a crime victim of some crazy crimes. The only thing I did was buy a home that was rigged. The only answer is for the whole truth to come out, and I can only pray that happens before myself or someone else is murdered. I raised my children to tell the truth. Okay. And so then I went through and I found photos, and I'm going to show you this one. This is a 5-generation picture. My dad and my granny's no longer alive. That's Josh and Kylie. Okay. And it was at Granny's house during Christmas. This one is Josh and Joelene with my dad, who's no longer alive, died in 2017, along with Tami Callaway, and that's his grandma. Okay. This is just one of the many comments I got. I'm not trolling, but your whole family is against you. Out to get you. And I've many excuse me, many of them kind of type of comments, which are this slander to cover up the multiple murders, maiming, mutilation, and all the rigged homes and all that. Because as you'll see, that Josh, admits that he knows what's going on. This is near my home in Orla, Texas. We were fishing on the Pecos River. I lived outside of Orla. This is Josh and Joelene out at Granny's house on Alabama Street in Hobbs, Mexico. This is Josh and Jennifer, my oldest daughter, when they were children. This is at the hospital when Kylie was born. That's his firstborn. This is Josh. He was my firstborn when he's a baby. This is a conversation that between me and Josh one day, and I'm not going to read all that to you here. One thing I say, everybody has a right to live safe in your home. That's one thing. But the one thing I pointed out here is you know when to pick your battles, and there's some lines that you don't cross, okay? And there's some things that are that you're willing to die for, And breaking in my home with guns, you're crossing the line. And then, there's unanswered question about my mom's death. I was told my daughter was raped. They've destroyed my life, destroyed my career, destroyed my reputation, broken into my home thousands of times. Each time they're stealing from me. There's many, 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 many lines that's been crossed here, That's all there is to it. But anyway, here's some pictures out from Orla when motorcycle here by the river, Josh and his bike, and me and him were out. We had bikes and we were out riding out there in the country. And that's where we lived. That was Phillips Camp out at the Tunstall gas plant. This is, and I'm sure not going to read this to you. But these were text messages from my son that I saved. And I basically asked him, I said, what's your stance? Well, I've done research. There's lots of people in Midland, and I'm worried that, I'm going to get a phone call and you're going to be dead and you can't beat these people, etc. Okay. And so it wasn't, dad's crazy. It wasn't no, dad's crazy. It's like, no, these are very powerful criminals and I want you to move. and of course that's where we disagree. Page 2, page 3, page 4. That's all on my Facebook though. Okay, that's when I first met Joelene, and that's when my girls were young. That was in my house in Hobbs. Here's another picture of Josh on the back patio of the Hobbs house. This picture was taken at Mom and Dad's house. I grew up there across from Green Meadows Lake in Hobbs, New Mexico, with one of Josh's hot rod cars. He did that paint job, and he's always been into cars, and he knows everything there is to know about cars. And so, anyways, I'm just going to share that with everybody. The only thing I know is to keep praying. A lot of information's come out. Just so much information I know now I didn't even know a couple years ago, and I really sincerely think that it's going to be stopped. I mean, it just somewhere these people that are breaking into homes and just shooting unsuspecting homeowners, they have to be stopped. Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas.